Today we're going to start our workout with warm-up stretches with Gwen. And the first thing you're going to do is get on the floor and start stretching one leg, putting your other foot on your thigh, touching your thigh, and reach for your toes and put your chest down to the floor as far as possible. When you're done with that, you're going to move to the other leg, so same position, just switching your legs, same stretch. Now Gwen is doing a V-sit, so you're going to put your feet together and you're going to use your elbows to press your legs down as far as possible to get the deepest stretch. Now you're going to do a low V stretch, so you're putting your legs out into a low V, grabbing your toes or reaching as far as you possibly can. Now Gwen's moving into a sort of pigeon pose. So you have one leg bended, the other leg stretched out. This helps you with your splits. Try and get your chest up as far as possible. That also deepens the stretch. Now lean your chest down to the ground to get a different kind of stretch out of this pose. Now Gwen's moving on the other leg, so same pose, just with the opposite leg. One leg bent, one leg straight out, starting with her chest up. Now she's moving down to the ground. She put her chest on her leg, getting a different kind of stretch. Now she's putting her chest back up, deepening the stretch. For this next stretch, I don't know what it is called, but you're going to sit back on one foot and reach for the opposite foot. Make sure your foot, the top of your foot is on the ground. And then switch legs, so like I said, your back leg, you're going to be sitting on that leg and make sure the top of your back leg foot is touching the ground while you're stretching. Now, if you can, get into the splits, or at least stretch in the splits. Even if you don't have the splits, you can still stretch them and it still helps you, especially before a workout. So make sure you do both sides of your splits. You don't have to hold it for too long. Now we'll get up and we'll do a straddle stretch. Gwen's getting pretty low to the ground, but if you can't, just get as far as you can. And her legs are obviously pretty wide. Now she moved her legs a little bit closer. She's just stretching it out. Now her feet are together and she's reaching for the ground. So do this for a few seconds. Now we'll move on to stretching on the sides. So spread your feet a little over shoulder width apart and reach down for one foot towards one of your feet. Stretch that out, and then you can move on to your other foot. So just stretching your side. Now we'll move on to our next stretch. So I call this a frog sit, but you can call it whatever you want. So basically just sit with your legs wide and have your chest facing the ground. So now Gwen put her feet out, which makes it look even more like a frog. Now we're moving on to our next stretch. So basically you just are stretching like you'd try and stretch into a middle split. Get as low as you can. That's comfortable. Now Gwen's getting back into a sort of frog sit. This just helps with overall flexibility, especially in the hips. Still in the frog sit. Now we'll move on to our next stretch. So you're going to be sitting down, put one leg out, and then cross the other leg over that leg, and then have your elbow on the outside of that leg, and stretch. Then switch legs, and kind of twist your torso to the opposite side. Really deepen that stretch. Make sure you sit straight up. That also helps. Now you'll just put both legs straight out and reach for your toes. Now spread your legs open in a low V and stretch in the low V again. Get your chest as far down to the ground as possible. Just deepen the stretch. Moving on to the next stretch, you will get into a sort of plank pose. Almost between plank and downward dog. Pick up your ankle and put it on the back of your other ankle leg, if that makes sense. Just follow the picture. And then switch, so opposite foot onto opposite ankle. So, we really like doing frog sits in this video, so we'll do another one. It's really good for your hips, so just gets you nice and loose. Okay, now for the next stretch, you will go ahead, lay on your back, take one leg, cross it over the other leg, but try and keep your shoulders on the ground so your hips, one hip is off the ground and your shoulders are on the ground. Hold this for a few seconds. And then whenever you feel free, you can switch legs. And now we'll move on to our next stretch. This will be our final stretch. Basically, Gwen's just going to get into either the middle splits if you can, or like a straddle sit. And this will just help us get really ready for our workout.